Hi students, good morning one and all. Welcome to Vignan Digital Classes. This is A. Srinivas, lecturer in physics, Vignan Junior College. Students, we have been discussing ray optics chapter from last few videos. Today, we continue the discussion of ray optics chapter. Today's topic is, we discuss about diffraction through curved surfaces. Mainly, the curved surfaces are of two types. One is convex, another one is concave. Here we are observing a concave surface in the image, and this is convex surface. So we have to discuss about how the refraction of light going on while passing through concave and convex surfaces mainly. So contents that we are going to discuss in this part of discussion in this session. First one, refraction through curved surfaces. Curved means it is either in form of concave curved surface or in form of convex curved surface. Let me first discuss about the refraction through curved surface. Next one, lens. Here any transparent medium having two boundaries, out of which at least one is a curved surface, that is known as a lens. So generally we discuss the lens of two ways, convex lens and concave lens. In our day-to-day life, for a clear visibility, we take the aid of lenses. So as spectacles, we use the lenses. In cell phones, so many lenses are used in cameras. In video, photographic cameras also we use the lenses. So everyday life must be accompanied with the uses of lenses. There are two types of lenses mainly, that is convex lens or concave lens. So the lens maker's formula is the very important one, which gives the expressions for focal length in terms of their radius of curvature, followed by lens formula that gives the relation between image distance, object distance and focal length, then power of lens, followed by combination of lenses, where we can kept number of lenses one after another to get more magnification, and to achieve the required magnification and power, we may use the combination of lenses. So that combination of lenses and position of images formed by the lenses. By changing the position of the object in front of lens, the image get modified. Its magnitude modifies, and real or virtual or inverted or erect images may be formed depending upon the position of the object. We must have a clear idea about the formation of images of the object kept in front of lens. So hence these were the concepts that we have to discuss. Let us move on to the first concept, that is spherical refracting surfaces. What is meant by spherical refracting surfaces? What are the two major categories of spherical refracting surfaces? So hence this is the definition. Here a spherical refracting surface is a part of refracting material. So refracting material means the material through which the path of light ray changes is known as refracting material. So spherical refracting surface is a part of sphere of refracting material. So any spherical refracting surface is a part of the sphere. If you consider any refracting surface, it is a part of sphere. So this is the important one. As a part of sphere, we have spherical refracting surface. A refracting surface which is convex towards the rarer medium is called convex refracting surface, as well as refracting surface which is concave towards the rarer medium is called concave refracting surface. Here let us observe these two in this diagram. Here we are observing this is a refracting surface, and this refracting surface here we are observing the refracting surface. This refracting surface is a part of a sphere. Here we are observing the refracting surface. I clearly redrawn with yellow color. This is a part of a sphere. This spherical refracting surface is a part of a sphere, and moreover this is the medium having more refractive index, let this be the denser medium, and this is the medium having less refractive index, let this be the rarer medium. So as explained here, a refracting surface which is convex towards the rarer medium, this is convex. The shape is convex. Here this refracting surface which is a denser medium, the shape of the denser medium is convex towards the rarer medium. If shape of denser medium is convex towards the rarer medium, that is said to be convex refracting surface. Here this is concave refracting surface. Let us look into here. Here the shape of the refracting surface, that is shape of the denser medium, is concave. Here clearly the shape is concave towards rarer medium. This is the air medium, let it be rarer medium. This is denser medium. The refracting surface, which is a part of a sphere, appears to be in concave shape that presents towards the rarer medium. Hence this is said to be concave refracting surfaces. This is the basic introduction, students. In refracting surface we have two types of refracting surfaces. One is convex, another one is concave, which are towards the rarer medium. So let us move on for the further discussion. As I explained, rarer and denser mediums are there, and this is the principal axis. Axis drawn from the through the pole and center of curvature. Here the geometrically midpoint of this refracting surface is pole. This is pole. This point is pole. Here for this second mirror, this is the pole. Geometrically midpoint of refracting surface is pole. A line drawn through pole and center of curvature is here. The observe the red spot. So see the animation. You are observing a red spot here. This is known as the center of curvature. Here the line that passes through the pole and center of curvature. The line that passes through the pole and center of curvature is considered to be principal axis of that refracting surfaces. Here also we have this pole. For this concave surface, on left side we have the center of curvature, concave surface. For convex surface, on right side we have the center of curvature. That is the difference between these two. Now any line passing through the pole and center of curvature is the principal axis, and the distance between this pole and center of curvature is radius of curvature. Here also distance between pole and center of curvature, this is the radius of curvature. So here these are the important points. One is the pole, geometrically midpoint of spherical surface. Another one is center of curvature, which is a center of the sphere for which this curved surface is a part, and line passing through pole and center of curvature is the principal axis. So let us move on to the assumptions. So here, to derive the relation between object distance, image distance and radius of curvature, we would like to know about the position of image. By knowing the position of object and radius of curvature of the mirrors, radius of curvature of the refracting surfaces, by knowing U and R, we should be in a position to find out position of image V. For that we consider some assumptions. So the first one is object is the point object lying on the principal axis. Especially for the next coming derivations, to derive the relation between object distance, image distance and radius of curvature of refracting surface, to get this relation among these three physical quantities, we consider certain assumptions. Here these are the assumptions. The first assumption is object is the point object lying on the principal axis. We must kept it on the principal axis. The incident and the refracted rays make small angles with the principal axis. Always this is the condition by which we continue the derivation. The incident ray makes some angle with normal, that is angle of incidence. Refracted ray makes some angle with normal, that is refracting angle. This incident angle and refracting angle should be small. Next, aperture, which is said to be diameter of the curved surface, the size of the curved surface. Already I have shown two types of curved surfaces in previous part of our discussion. Then the size of that curved surface, also considered as the diameter of the curved surface, is small. Aperture is so small. Now Cartesian sign convention, already we discussed the Cartesian sign convention at the early discussion of this chapter. Already we discussed it in mirrors also. So in Cartesian sign convention, the incident ray is taken from left to right. So along this direction on the screen, left to right means here, along this direction we consider the direction of propagation of light. Then all the distances measured from the pole. So for convex mirror we have the pole, or for concave mirror we have the pole as drawn here. All the distances must be measured from pole. The geometrically midpoint of the curved surface is the pole, all the distances must be measured from the pole of the refracting surfaces. Distances measured along the direction of light. So from the pole, these distances are considered to be positive. Distances measured from pole along the direction of propagation of light are taken as positive sign. Distances which are measured in opposite direction to the propagation of light are taken to be negative. So similarly, the distances measured in upward direction are positive, distances measured in downward direction to the principal axis are negative. By taking principal axis as the reference line, distances measured above the principal axis are considered to be positive, distances measured below the principal axis are considered to be negative. So let us move on to the first derivation. Refraction at convex surface from rarer medium to denser medium. While light is travelling from rarer to denser medium, let us derive the expression for refraction at convex curved surface. So here we go to the derivation. Let this be the refracting medium. This bluish color image that we are observing in the screen is a denser medium. Moreover, the surface of the denser medium is convex towards the rarer medium. This left side one, the yellowish color one is the rarer medium, the bluish one is the denser medium. So the surface of the curved surface towards the rarer medium is convex, hence this is a convex refracting surface. This is named as the convex refracting surface. Here, as I explained, this is the denser medium and this is the rarer medium. The rarer medium refractive index, let it be mu1, let mu2 be the refractive index of the denser medium. Here, because of the shape of the convex refracting surface, its center of curvature lies right side of this curved surface. This red spot indicates C, which is known as the center of curvature. Geometrically, midpoint is the pole. Let this be the pole of the curved surface. Let us draw an axis passing through pole and center of curvature. The axis that passing through pole and center of curvature is the principal axis. Okay, let this blue spot on the principal axis is object. We consider a point object on the principal axis, let it be at O. Now this is the incident ray. Here consider once again this particular animation. We are considering two light rays emerging out from O. One light ray incident at some height, another light ray is passing along the principal axis. That is, second light ray is allowed to pass through center of curvature, that means along the normal line. So angle of incidence for the light ray passing through center of curvature is 0, angle of refraction is also 0. So light ray that passes through the center of curvature, that is along the principal axis, having 0 angle of incidence as well as 0 angle of refraction. Without any deviation, that light ray move forward. So let us see the two light rays once again here. Okay, this is the first light ray incident on the curved surface at this point. It undergoes the refracted. This light ray is the refracted light ray, and this is the second light ray emanating from the same object, passes along the principal axis through the curved surface, and by having 0 angle of incidence and refraction, it moves straightward forward without any deviation. These two light rays coming from the object intersect here, and so that image is formed. Let I be the image of the object formed in the denser medium. Object considered in rarer medium. After refraction, its image is formed in the denser medium at I. So now consider the normal. So at this point of incidence, draw a line passing through center of curvature and point of incidence. This is the line drawn from the center of curvature through the point of incidence. This line is the normal line at the point of incidence. We know that the angle made by the incident light ray with normal is angle of incidence. Hence this is I. This is the incident ray. OA is the incident ray. Intersect at the normal. Then angle made by this incident ray, that is blue color light ray with normal is angle of incidence. Then AI is the refracted ray. AI is the refracted ray in the denser medium. Angle made by this refracted ray with normal, this is the angle of refraction. This is the angle of refraction, angle made by refracted ray with normal. Here, let us observe, we drawn a perpendicular line AM. M is the foot of the perpendicular onto the principal axis. Now we have triangles like OMA is one triangle. Next, similarly, IMA is another triangle. OMA, IMA are two triangles, as well as OCA is also another triangle. We have different triangles here. So here R is the angle of refraction. Let this angle made by incident ray with the principal axis is alpha. We are considering a few more angles to move forward in this derivation. Angle made by this incident ray with principal axis is alpha, as well as consider the angle here. Angle made by refracted ray with principal axis is beta. One more angle, this is the gamma. Angle made by normal with the principal axis is gamma. Alpha, beta, gamma are angle made by incident ray with principal axis. Angle made by refracted ray with principal axis. Angle made by normal with principal axis are alpha, beta, gamma respectively. Here the distances. All distances are measured from the pole of the refracting surfaces. That is sign convention. So distance of center of curvature from pole of the refracting surface is capital R, known as the radius of curvature. One more distance. Distance of the object from pole of the refracting surface is object distance, let it be U. One more distance. Distance of the image from pole, distance of the image from pole is the image distance, let it be V. So U object distance, V image distance, C center of curvature distance, all are measured from pole of the refracting surfaces. Here our aim is to find out the relation between U is the image distance, and V is the object distance. Here we would like to know the relation between U object distance, V image distance, R radius of curvature, mu1 refractive index of rarer medium, mu2 refractive index of denser medium. We would like to derive the relation among these 5 quantities, from which there is a possibility of finding image position V. We know about the image by having a relation among these physical quantities. For that we use this data. This explained description will be useful to have a wonderful relation among these 3. So let us consider the first triangle. Let us consider the triangle that is OMA. In the right angle triangle OMA, I is the external angle. I is the external angle. Let us consider the triangle OCA. So here students, I consider the triangle OCA. Once again, look into it carefully. O object, C center of curvature, A is the point of incidence. For this OCA triangle, I is equal to alpha plus gamma. I is the external angle for this OCA triangle. Hence external angle is sum of the internal angles, so that I is equal to alpha plus gamma. So consider one more triangle. So that is the triangle ICA. From triangle ICA, image including triangle. First one is object involved triangle, now image involved triangle ICA. For ICA triangle, gamma is the external angle. So gamma is sum of internal angles, that is R plus beta. Gamma is equal to R plus beta. So from that write R is equal to gamma minus beta. Gamma is equal to R plus beta. This implies R is equal to gamma minus beta. Okay. So keep it in mind that I and R are calculated in terms of alpha and gamma and beta and gamma. Next, in the triangle, right angle triangle OMA. So let us consider the right angle triangle OMA. Look into the diagram and assume the considered triangle OMA is the right angle triangle by having 90 degrees at M. Then tan alpha, because we have alpha values and beta values. Here we have alpha, here we have beta. That's why we have to determine alpha, beta, gamma. We are making an attempt now to find out alpha, beta, gamma in the triangle. So tan alpha is equal to opposite side MA by adjacent side MO. MA by MO is tan alpha. So already we made an assumption that all these angles are very, very small. That's why tan alpha is approximately equal to alpha for very small angles, so that alpha is MA by MO. We find out the value of alpha. Next, our interest is in beta. So consider the OMA, IMA. So consider triangle, image involved triangle IMA, a right angle triangle IMA. So IMA, M 90 degrees at M. In this IMA right angle triangle, tan beta is opposite side MA by adjacent side MI. Okay, as I explained, beta is also very small angle. For small angles, tan of that angle is considered to be same angle. Therefore, beta is equal to MA divided by MI. So we calculated alpha and beta. Then our aim is gamma. So consider gamma involved right angle triangle CMA. So triangle CMA to find out gamma. In CMA right angle triangle, consider tan gamma. For this opposite side is MA, adjacent side is MC, MA by MC. As gamma is also very small, tan gamma is approximately equal to gamma, so that gamma becomes MA divided by MC. We calculated alpha value, beta value, gamma value, and replace I and R formulas, replace the alpha, gamma and beta values in angle of incidence and angle of refraction by these calculated values. Successfully we had the values of alpha, beta, gamma and replace in the above formula. So according to Snell's law, we know that when refraction is taking place from rarer to denser medium, that is from a medium of refractive index mu1 to medium of refractive index mu2, at the refracting position, the Snell's law is ratio of refractive index of second medium with respect to first medium mu2 by mu1 is equal to sin I divided by sin R. So on cross multiplying, we find one more relation. For as usual, as we replace tan alpha by alpha, here also I and R are very, very small angles. For small angles, we may replace sin I by I and sin R by R, because this incident angle and refracting angle are assumed to be very, very small. For such small angles, we replace sin I by I and sin R by R. Therefore, I by R is equal to mu2 divided by mu1. Or on cross multiplying this expression, we get a simple form, mu1I is equal to mu2R. Mu1I is equal to mu2R. Already we have had the values of I and R and replace them. That is, here mu1I is equal to mu2R. Here mu1 into I is alpha plus gamma. We need some extension to know this final expression. So replace I by this formula, alpha plus gamma, okay, is equal to mu2 into R. Replace R by gamma minus beta, hence this is gamma minus beta. Okay, this is the first step. And we have each value of alpha, beta and gamma here. Therefore, mu1 into alpha plus gamma, then shift the mu2 value, mu2 minus mu2 beta to the RHS, so that we find mu1 alpha plus mu2 beta. So open the bracket, we get minus mu2 beta, shift this value to the LHS, it becomes plus mu2 beta, and then here mu1 gamma on LHS, when it shifted to RHS it becomes minus mu1 gamma, so mu2 minus mu1 into gamma. We rearranged the above equation like this, by replacing minus mu2 gamma, by shifting minus mu2 beta to the LHS we get plus mu2 beta, by shifting mu1 gamma to the RHS we get minus mu1 gamma, so gamma common, so mu2 minus mu1 into gamma. Now replace alpha, beta, gamma with the above values. Moreover, for very small sized, if the aperture of the refracting surface is so small, then we may coincide M with P. There is not much large considerable difference between M and P. There is a distance of separation between foot of the perpendicular pole is negligible in value. They are almost coincides with each other. So that's why the alpha MA divided by MO is also equal to PA divided by PO, and replace M by P. This is PA divided by PI, as well as this is PA divided by PC. Okay, now replace this alpha by PA divided by PO. Here PA divided by PO, actually we have PA also, and beta in this formula replaced by PA divided by PA divided by PI, and mu2 minus mu1 into gamma is replaced by PA divided by PC. So on both sides PA value get cancels now, that's why we eliminated it. So hence we have this formula mu1 by PO plus mu2 by PI is equal to mu2 minus mu1 by PC. Now applying sign convention and replace the each value, PO is object distance in opposite direction to the propagation of light. Therefore, PO is replaced by minus U. Sign convention for left side measured values from pole are negative, so this is minus U. And PI, this is right side calculated. For the right side position of the pole we have I value, so PI value is positive, that is plus V, as well as PC is also right side calculated value, right hand side calculated value from pole, hence PC is equal to plus R. Replacing U value, this PO value, PI value and PC value with proper sign convention as written here. In this formula we get mu1 by minus U plus mu2 by plus V is equal to mu2 minus mu1 divided by capital R. Hence rearranging this equation we get a formula. This can be written as, just rearranging it, refractive index of second medium, denser medium, second medium of refracting medium divided by image distance minus the refractive index of first medium, incident medium, mu1 divided by U object distance is equal to denser medium refractive index second medium minus first medium refractive indexes numerator divided by the radius of curvature of the refracting surface. So this is the way in which we remember the formula and we apply the formula with proper sign convention. So a light ray starts in medium of refractive index mu1 at position U, and it incident on the denser medium of refractive index mu2 second medium and forms the image at V. Then mu2 by V minus mu1 by U is equal to mu2 minus mu1 whole divided by R. So this is the very essential relation for us. So let us move on to the lens maker's formula. This is the very important formula. So for different purposes we need lens of different focal lengths. So a man may use aid of lenses for a clear vision if we have had any defect in observing the objects. Then we take, this is the common thing in our daily life, we may take aid of the lenses. So lenses need of different focal length, it changes from person to person, purpose to purpose and application to applications. So as lenses of cameras, lenses of cell phones, lenses of spectacles, lenses of telescopes, lenses of microscopes, lenses of simple microscope, compound microscope. So in this way we have the applications of lenses. We need the use of lens in so many cases in our daily life, and that lens should be prepared with proper focal length. So to prepare a particular lens of the required focal length, how to find that lens? So lens maker's formula is the very interesting one. So we would like to derive the expression for focal length and refractive index of the lens and the radius of curvature of the lens. Here lens maker's formula mainly gives a interesting formula and gives a relation between focal length radius of curvature of the surface of the lens, as well as the refractive index of the lens medium and surrounding medium. So here this is the lens. Here especially we are considering a convex lens. So a lens is a transmitting medium which having at least one curved surface. Any transmitting medium, transparent medium, at least having one curved surface is a lens. Here we have a convex lens. So when this is the denser medium, let it be having refractive index mu2. Towards rarer medium, it appears as a convex surface. This denser medium shape is convex towards the rarer medium, hence this is the convex refracting surface. Let us observe the another side. For the second side also, towards right side also, the denser medium shape is convex towards the rarer medium, hence this is also a convex refracting surface. We prepared the transmitting medium with two boundaries, moreover two are convex in shape towards rarer medium, hence it is a convex lens. We considered a convex lens, Ln is the convex lens. Here mu1 is the refractive index of the surrounding medium, and either side of the lens, towards left side or right side of the lens we have same medium, let mu1 be the refractive index of that medium. Let it be air medium suppose. And here this is the principal axis. Here for the lens we have the optic center. At this midpoint we have the optic center. So a line passing through optic center and center of curvatures of the two lenses. For this first refracting curved surface, we have the center of curvature at right side. For the second refracting surface, we have the center of curvature at left side. C1, C2 are there. Any line passing through C1, C2 and optic center is the principal axis. Here I am representing. P1 is the pole of the first refracting surface. P2 is the pole of the second refracting surface. And here the midpoint of these two poles is the optic center. Now we represented the optic center by C letter. For the first refracting curved surface, C1 is the center of curvature. For second refracting curved surface, C2 is the center of curvature. And any line passing through the two center of curvatures and optic center is known as the principal axis. Let O be the object kept on the principal axis. Let O be the object kept on the principal axis beyond the center of curvature. And let us consider the incident light ray. So students, once again look into the animation that showing the incident light ray. The incident light ray emanating from the object and incident on the lens here. Okay, after refraction through first curved surface, we have to observe the refraction through first and second surface separately to get this equation. Let us consider the refraction is happening through first curved surface, let it be LP1N. LP1N is the first curved surfaces. Here after having refraction through first curved surfaces, it forms the image at I1. Because second light ray from O1 is considered along the principal axis and it moves without any deviation. The blue color one and the yellow color one are the two light rays considered from O. They two intersect at this point, and this is an image formed due to refraction through first curved surface LP1N. Only due to refraction by the first curved surface we get I1 image. Here I drawn the normals. So as LP1N is the first refracting surface and its center of curvature is C1. So normal drawn at the point of incident for the first refracting surface is C1N1. The incident point is A. OA is the incident light ray. C1N1 is the normal drawn at the point of incidence. Okay, and this I1 is the image due to first refraction that becomes the virtual object for the second refraction. Second refraction takes place through LP2N refracting surface. For that, this is the virtual object. I1 is the virtual object and it incidents at point this B. Let us draw a normal for the second incident, second refracting surface at point of incidence. Let C2N2 be the normal drawn to the second refracting surface at point of incidence. So here angle made by incident ray with normal is angle of incidence at first refracting surface. I is the angle of incidence at first refracting surfaces. Then for refraction at A, LP1N is the first refracting surfaces. Incident light ray is at A. Then for first refraction through this LP1N surface, apply Snell's law, apply the refraction through curved surface equation. We know that light ray starts in mu1 refracting medium, okay, and it refracted through mu2 refracting, this is the mu2. Light ray starts from the object which is kept in mu1 refracting medium. It forms the image in mu2 refracting medium. It forms the image in denser medium after first refraction. Then we have a relation, that is mu2 second refracting medium by its image distance minus first refracting medium by object distance is equal to mu2 minus mu1 by its radius of curvature. So image is formed at v1 distance. Here let this be v1. Okay. First image made by the refraction through first curved surface is I1 and its distance is v1 measured from optic center C. Then mu2 divided by v1. Okay. Because let us assume this image is formed in denser medium, not the rarer medium. After first refraction, let us assume image is formed in denser medium, so that mu2 by v1 minus object is in rarer medium, mu1 by u is equal to mu2 minus mu1 by radius of curvature. This distance is r1, radius of curvature is r1. Okay. As if the image formed in the denser medium. Because of this consideration, we write this formula. So now, this is the important point. I1, which is the image in denser medium after first refraction, becomes the first object. Image in the denser medium considered to be virtual object for the second refraction. This image is considered to be virtual object for the second refraction through the LP2N surface. Now, for the second refraction, object is I1, that is virtual object, which is in denser medium, and after the refraction, image is formed in the rarer medium. So, the important point is, for the second refraction through LP2N surface, virtual object is at I1, it is in denser medium of refractive index mu2, and after refraction, this is the refracted light ray, finally image is formed is I, which is in rarer medium. Now, refraction is taking place from denser to rarer, hence for refraction at LP2N surface, as it is taking place from denser to rarer, ultimate image in rarer medium, so final image is rarer medium, mu1 by v, this distance is v, image distance. So mu1 by v minus object distance is v1 in denser medium mu2, so mu2 by v1 is equal to mu1 minus mu2 divided by r2. As if the object is considered in denser medium, image is formed in the rarer medium. This line is important. Now by adding this above two equations, combining the refractions at both the surfaces, here in this addition, mu2 by v1 and this mu2 by minus mu2 by v1 get cancelled in this addition, so that we have this one, mu1 by v minus mu1 by u, okay, mu1 by v minus mu1 by u is mu2 minus mu1 into 1 by r1. Here mu1 minus mu2 is rearranged as minus common mu2 minus mu1 into minus 1 by r2. Hence we get this minus sign here. Mu2 minus mu1 common on the right hand side, then we get 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. So we get up to this stage, that is mu1 by v minus mu1 by u is equal to mu2 minus mu1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Here these are the respective distances, students. Next, cross multiplying. Mu1 is common in numerator, here mu1 get common in numerator, and cross multiplying we get 1 by v minus 1 by u is equal to mu2 minus mu1 by mu1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Okay, next we continue the derivation. Then 1 by v minus 1 by u, mu2 by mu1 minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Let mu2 by mu1, refractive index of the denser glass medium or denser medium, that is the refractive index of the lens with respect to surrounding medium. Let it be mu. Therefore, we get this equation. 1 by v minus 1 by u is mu minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Here, This is known as the required expression. Now, to get modification in the above formula, when object is kept at infinity, that is u is infinite. When object is kept at infinity means here consider u is minus infinity, then image is formed at focal length. V is equal to f. We know that. That is the definition of focal length. When object is kept at infinity, the distance of the image is defined as the focal length. So according to the definition, replace u by minus infinity and v by f. So that 1 by f is equal to, mu minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Students, this is the very very important formula, that is known as the Lensmaker's formula. We come to a conclusion of this Lensmaker's formula. 1 by f is equal to mu minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. r1 is the radius of curvature of first refracting surface, r2 is the radius of curvature of second refracting surface, and therefore 1 by f is equal to mu minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Here the equation is called Lensmaker's formula. Now from these two equations, let us observe, I am marking the two equations. RHS is same, so that we equate the LHS of the two equations. By equating LHS of these two equations, we get 1 by v minus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f. Here LHS is this one, second equation LHS is 1 by f. So that 1 by v minus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f. This is known as the Lens formula. Top one is Lensmaker's formula and bottom one is Lens formula. These are very repeatedly useful equations regarding lenses. To solve any problem of lens or to continue any derivation, to know about further derivations belongs to lenses, we must use these two formulas. One is Lensmaker's formula, second one is the Lens formula. So here Lens formula for convex lens. Here already let us consider an object kept between focus f1 and center of curvature. If this is the focus, this is the center of curvature, and object moves like this and it forms the image. So look into the image. This is the object of certain dimension BA, and we consider two light rays traveling through the lenses and intersect, and any parallel light ray must pass through the focus, and light ray passing through center of the optic center moves without any deviation. These are the two principles. A parallel light ray to the principal axis passes through the focus. Light ray passing through optic center moves without any deviation. The two intersect after refraction. These two are refracted light rays. After refraction, this is the intersecting point. Hence, we get the image. This is a magnified, inverted and real image formed by the convex lens when it is kept between focus and center of curvature. Okay, this is the first refracting surface. This is the focus and center of curvature. Here this is object distance and this one is the image distance, and focal length is f here, then radius of curvature, and here we would like to know the magnification. We would like to know about magnification. So magnification is the ratio of, here we are observing image of size b dash a dash and object of size ba. So ratio of size of image to size of object, ratio of size of image to the size of object is always magnification. So magnification is size of image, let the size of image be I, and here size of object be, size of image is I, and size of object is O, BA is O, B dash A dash is I. Ratio of size of image to size of object is magnification. According to comparison of similar triangles, we have similar triangles here, we represented the similar triangles. We did it already in concave mirror. In same manner, we continue the derivation by using properties of similar triangles. We get this I by O, I to O ratio is equal to V to U ratio, V by U. Therefore, magnification is the size of the image by size of the object ratio, which is also equal to ratio of image distance to the object distance. This is the important point. And here magnification in terms of V and F, not U, in terms of V and F is, because by using this magnification formula, and 1 by F is equal to 1 by V minus 1 by U, known as Lens formula. In previous part of our discussion, we did this derivation. Therefore, by eliminating u from these two equations, we get this formula. Magnification is f minus v divided by f. Or if you eliminate v from these two equations, we get magnification also equal to f by f minus u, f by f minus u. Power of lens. Here, when light ray passes through the lens, it bends towards the normal. It bends towards the normal. We are observing there is a bending of light ray through refraction. So, the angle through which light ray is bending is determined by the power of lens. So, power of lens is the ability to bend a light ray of light falling on it and is reciprocal of its focal length. If bending increases, focal length decreases. If bending is more, for this bending, here this is the angle of bending. If bending is more, then focal length goes on decreasing. For any lens, if bending angle is gradually increasing, focal length goes on decreasing. So, if bending is more, power is also more. For more power is achieved by less focal length. So, power of a lens is its ability, like this lens, power of a lens is its ability to bend a light ray. We are observing bending of light ray. Actually, this is the incident light ray path, but it can't continue. After refraction, we are observing bending of light ray. So, the power of lens is its ability to bend a ray of light falling on it, and it is reciprocal. As I explained, as bending angle increases, focal length goes on decreasing. So, power and focal length are inversely proportional. Therefore, the power of any convex or concave lens, power of a lens is determined a formula reciprocal of focal length. This is the very required expression. Power of any lens is reciprocal of focal length. P is equal to 1 by f. And SI unit of power is meter inverse, because focal length SI unit is meter. Meter inverse, also known as the diopter. Diopter is the SI unit of power. So, in this part especially, we discussed about magnification expression in different forms as well as power. So, let us continue to the combination of lenses. Let us continue the combination of lenses. We have one more derivation here. Let this be the lens. The lens, first lens. For combination of lenses, we need at least two lenses. Let this be the first lens and second one. So, see, this is the first lens, and beside of it we kept the second lens by attaching them as shown in the diagram. Let this be the common principal axis. This is the optic center of first lens O1, and this is the optic center of the second lens, that is O2. O1, O2 are the optic centers of the two lenses respectively, and any line that passes through these two optic centers and center of curvature of the lenses is the principal axis. Let this be the principal axis. AB are two lenses and axis is the principal axis. Let O be the object. See students, we kept the point object at O, and refracted light ray, it undergoes refraction through first lens as well as second lens. After first refraction, it forms an image. That image is the virtual object for the second lens. The virtual object makes refraction through the second lens. Ultimately, it forms the image. So, let us consider O is the object and it undergoes the refraction through first lens. After having refraction through first lens, it forms a virtual image I1. I1 is the virtual image of first lens. That I1 becomes the virtual object for second lens. Therefore, the virtual object of second lens is I1. After refraction through second lens, it forms the final image at I. Final image is formed at I. So, O is the object. I1 is the virtual image of first lens. It becomes the virtual object for the second lens. After refraction to second lens, final image is formed at I. So, this is the sequence. Here, distance of the object from the first lens. Here we consider the distances from midpoint. Here, from this midpoint, we consider the distances. Let this be the midpoint. This is the common optic center C. Common optic center C. From the common optic center, the distance of the object is U. And from the same common optic center, the distance of virtual image of the first refraction is V1. After first refraction, virtual image distance is V1. After second refraction, final image is at the distance V. V is the final image after refraction through all the lenses is V. Here for the image formed by the first lens, let me to write the lens formula for the first refraction through first lens. For the image formed by the first lens, we know how we have the general formula that 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F is a general formula known as the lens formula. Apply lens formula for the first lens. Image is V1, here V1, object is U and focal length is F1. So image is V1 distance, focal length is F1, object is U. So 1 by V1 minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F1. This V1 is the distance of image of the first lens. That is the same as the object for the second lens, virtual object. So for the image formed by the first lens, here image for the image formed by the second lens B, here let it be second lens B. Here for the second lens, here this is the virtual object. Here we are getting the for image formed by the second lens, object distance is V1, image distance is V. Image distance is V, so 1 by V. Object distance is V1 minus 1 by V1. This is the object distance for the second lens. Its focal length is F2, so 1 by F2. Now, adding the above two equations, let this be the equation 1 and let this be the equation 2, gives refraction through first lens and second lens respectively. Adding these two, 1 by V1 and minus 1 by V1 get cancelled, so that we get 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2. Here if you assume, if you replace these two combination by single lens of focal length F, if we replace the combination of these two lenses by single lens of focal length F, then 1 by V minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F. So equating RHS of these above two equations, we get 1 by F is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2. This is the, here we get the effective equation for the effective focal length of combination of lenses. Suppose if we have two lenses of focal length F1, F2, this is of F1 and this is of F2, kept in contact, then effective focal length of the combination is F. Then expression is 1 by F is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2. Not only for two lenses, just two lenses, if you put any number of lenses in contact, then the effective focal length of all the lenses put in contact is, we extend the formula in same manner, 1 by F is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2 plus 1 by F3 plus and so on. And we know that reciprocal of focal length is power. So that in terms of power, reciprocal of focal length in each term is power. Then effective power is power of first lens 1 by F1 is P1, power of second lens 1 by F2 P2, power of third lens 1 by F3 is P3. Then effective power of combined lens, combination of lens, is P1 is equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3. P is equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3. Then net magnification. When you use a single object and forms the single image after refracting through combined combination of lenses, the net magnification that we get ultimately. So many cases to get more magnification, we use the combination of lenses. That is a quite common thing. The net magnification is the product. So that is M1 into net magnification is M1 into M2 into M3 and so on. This is product. Net magnification is M1 into M2 into M3 and so on. This is the expression for net magnification. So students, here we come to conclusion of this one. Just before concluding, see the one more thing. Position of the image formed by the lenses. Already we discussed the position of the image found by the lenses in very detailed manner by using animated diagrams in mirror, concave mirror. In same way, let this be the case 1. This is the convex lens. Okay, position of the image formed by lenses. The first one is convex lens. We consider convex lens. Image formed by the convex lens. Here, let this be the case 1 in which object is at infinity. I am writing the value. Object is at infinity. So from infinite kept object, paraxial light rays are coming parallel to the principal axis, incident on the convex lens, and they must converge to a point and beyond the lens, that point is the focus. This is the focus. So if object at infinity, the image distance is focal length, and we get a point size object. If suppose object is of certain size, we get a finite size image. The image must be inverted real. The qualities of the image are: image is inverted and real image. Okay. And diminished image. Diminished image. We describe the image with 4 qualities. So it appears to be inverted. It forms by intersecting. So we catch the image on the screen, real image, small in size, diminished. Its position is exactly at the focus, focal length. Comes to the second case. Then object is beyond C, just beyond C, between center of curvature and infinity, beyond C. Then light rays, a paraxial light ray, after refraction passes through the focus. Light ray passing through optic center move without any deviation. They move forward, and image is formed between focus and center of curvature. This is the image. So what are the qualities of the image? The image is inverted. So we are observing a downwardly directed image. This is upward directed, this is downward directed. Hence it is said to be inverted image. And real image, okay, and small in size, hence diminished image. Diminished image. We get a diminished image. Inverted, real, diminished image, at which it is formed means between focus and center of curvature. That is the location of image. And comes to third case. Now object to move further close to the lens so that it kept exactly at center of curvature. Let the object be at center of curvature. By drawing the paraxial light ray passes through the focus. Second light ray passes through optic center without any deviation. It intersect and exactly forms the image at center of curvature. If the object is at center of curvature at one side and light rays passes through convex lens, forms the image at same center of curvature on other side. So image is also at distance, that is 2f distance, center of curvature. Object is 2f, image is also 2f, and it is inverted. Here we are observing inverted, real image, and same size is same. It is of same in size. Same sized image. Magnification is 1. Consider the fourth case, in which object is further close to the lens such that it is kept between center of curvature and focus. Draw the same 2 lines. A paraxial ray passes through focus. A light ray passes through optic center, moves without any deviation. Then the image position shifted beyond the center of curvature. Image is formed beyond center of curvature, beyond C1. Object is in between C and F. Image is beyond C. And clearly it is also a real image. We are observing real image, and downward directed inverted image as well as enlarged image. To get magnification, so magnification is greater than 1, image size is greater than object size. To get magnified image and real magnified image, object must be kept in between focus and center of curvature. This is the condition. Next, if object is kept exactly at the focus, after refraction the light rays move parallel, so it may forms the image at infinity. So a very highly enlarged image. So here also, if object is at focal length, then image may be formed at infinity. This is the location of image, and moreover it is a real image, undoubtedly, and inverted, it forms below the principal axis. Inverted image, real image, and very enlarged image, very highly enlarged image. Okay, next one. Suppose object is further move close to the lens. It is kept between focus and the optic center. This is the peculiar case in which a real image is not formed. This is the case in which we are getting a virtual image. So let the object be kept between focus and optic center, One is a paraxial light ray passes through the focus. Another one is the light ray passing through optic center and extended them in backward direction. And here refracted ray is extended backwards. This second ray is also extended backwards, and we get a virtual image. So here this is the only case in which we get a virtual and real, virtual and erect moreover magnified image is formed here. Erect, magnified and virtual image is formed when object is kept between focus and optic center. So let us move on to the one simple case of formed by concave lens. Here let the image be formed by concave lens. So far we discussed convex lens, let be concave lens. Let this be the concave lens. In this lens the diffracting surface towards rarer medium and either side is concave, hence it is a concave lens. In this we have two simple cases. Let us consider paraxial light rays. Object is kept at infinity. Here object is kept at infinity. U is equal to infinity. Object is kept at infinity, so that parallel light rays are coming parallel to the principal axis and intersect. After refraction, the light rays are diverging. This is the case. After refraction through concave lens, the light rays diverges like this. Then no image is beyond the concave lens. Therefore, extend these two divergent light rays after refraction backwards. They intersect here and we get the image here. So hence it is said to be a virtual image. Virtual image is formed exactly at focal length. So let us consider one more case. Let us consider a finite object kept between center of curvature and focus. The paraxial light ray after refraction undergoes the divergence, and this is the light ray moves without any deviation through optic center. Extended them, this is the object from which the light ray is moving. Let us extend the divergent light ray backwards, and similarly this is also another divergent light ray after refraction. Let us prolong in backward direction. They intersect and the image is formed here. This is the image. So that we are getting a virtual image here also. By prolonging the divergent rays backwards, we are getting image, so that the virtual image and erect image and moreover diminished image. So we conclude that the concave lens always forms a virtual image. Whatever the position of object always forms a virtual, erect and diminished image is formed by the concave lens. So these are the two cases of concave lenses. Students, I completed the explanation belongs to refraction through lenses. Refraction through curved surface is totally discussed in this session of our discussion. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.